In the heart of Eldoria, a kingdom where magic lingers in every whisper of the wind, Princess Elara stood alone in her chamber. The walls, adorned with ancient runes and tapestries woven with tales of old, seemed to close in around her. As she gazed into the large, ornate mirror before her, a figure emerged in the reflection, one she did not recognize. His form was shadowy, his features blurred as if seen through a veil of mist. But his eyes were piercing, filled with a deep longing and a sadness that resonated within Elara's soul. She could feel the pull of those eyes, drawing her closer, as if whispering secrets of a forgotten past. The vision faded as the sound of approaching footsteps echoed through the chamber. Prince Kalen, the man she was destined to marry, entered with his usual air of confidence. Tall, with dark hair that flowed like a river of midnight and eyes as blue as the clearest skies, he was every bit the prince of legend. He smiled warmly at Elara, his charm undeniable. Yet as he took her hand, Elara's heart felt heavy, as if burdened by a weight she could not name. She smiled back, but her thoughts drifted to the mysterious figure in the mirror, a stranger who felt more familiar than the man standing before her. That night, as the moonlight bathed Eldoria in a silver glow, Elara's dreams were filled with visions of an ancient forest. The trees, twisted and gnarled, seemed to whisper her name. And there, at the center of the forest, stood the man from her vision, Arendor. Arendor was a sorcerer of great power, his eyes filled with the knowledge of centuries. His long, silver-streaked hair flowed like a waterfall of moonlight, and his robes, dark as the night itself, blended with the shadows around him. He reached out towards a cracked stone altar, his face a mask of sorrow and longing. And there, on that altar, was a ghostly image of Elara. She was not the Princess of Eldoria, but another version of herself, one who had lived, loved, and lost in a time long forgotten. Arendor's voice echoed in the forest, calling out to her, pleading for her to remember. Elara awoke with a start, her heart racing. The pieces of the puzzle were beginning to fall into place, and she could no longer ignore the truth. She confronted Prince Kalen in the grand hall, her voice trembling with a mixture of fear and determination. "Who is Arendor?" she demanded, her eyes locked onto his. For a moment, Kalen's charming facade faltered, and in its place was a cold, calculating gaze. Kalen revealed the dark truth. Arendor was her true love from a past life, a powerful sorcerer who had been cursed to be forgotten by all, including Elara herself. The curse was cast by Kalen's ancestors, who feared the power of their love. The marriage between Elara and Kalen was a plot to ensure
that the curse remained unbroken, that Arendor would remain lost in the shadows of history. But as Kalen spoke, the air in the hall began to shimmer, and Arendor's ethereal form materialized behind Elara. His presence was powerful, yet filled with a deep sorrow. He had watched over her for centuries, waiting for the moment when she would remember, when she would have the power to break the curse. With Arendor's guidance, Elara journeyed to the edge of the kingdom, where the land met the stormy sea. The sky was dark, clouds swirling ominously overhead. In her hands, she held an ancient artifact, one that pulsed with a light so intense it seemed to hold the power of the sun within. The wind howled around them as Arendor stood by her side, his gaze filled with hope and love. Elara's hands trembled as she raised the artifact, its light growing brighter with each passing moment. The curse that had bound them for centuries began to unravel, threads of dark magic breaking apart, dissolving into the air like mist. As the artifact's light consumed the darkness, Elara felt the weight lift from her heart. The memories of her past life flooded back, each one more vivid than the last. She remembered Arendor, their love, their pain, and the betrayal that had torn them apart. But as the curse broke, Elara found herself standing at a crossroads. Before her were two paths, one leading back to the castle, where the dawn of a new day awaited, and the other into the shadowy depths of the forest, where Arendor stood, waiting. The choice was hers to make. She could return to the life she had always known, the life of a princess bound by duty and power. Or she could follow the man who had loved her across centuries, into the unknown, where love and danger awaited in equal measure. Butterflies fluttered around her, their wings shimmering in the soft light of dawn. Elara's heart pounded in her chest as she looked down both paths, torn between her love for Arendor and the life she had been destined to live. Finally, with a deep breath, she made her choice. As the first rays of sunlight broke through the clouds, Eldoria began to change. The whispers of the forgotten faded, and with them, the shadows that had haunted the kingdom for so long. In the distance, the figure of a man and a woman could be seen walking hand in hand into the forest, their forms disappearing into the mist. Elara had chosen love, a love that defied time and destiny. And though the path ahead was uncertain, she knew that as long as Arendor was by her side, they could face whatever challenges lay ahead. Together, they would rewrite their story, free from the chains of the past. The whispers of the forgotten realm had finally been silenced, and in their place, a new story began to unfold. A story of love, of sacrifice, and of a destiny reclaimed.